Hi, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of This Could Have Been a Podcast. This is a podcast hosting by me, Clarisse. And today we are with Khatia. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me. I'm so happy to be the first guest. So honored.
I'm very honored to have you here.
Thank you.
I could have not wished for better guest than you to
Oh my
start this
God,
podcast.
thank you. I could not have wished a better podcast.
Can you introduce yourself in a few words for the listener to understand who you are, where you come from, and what are you doing here today?
Oh my God. That's not an easy task. I'm an art director, Berlin-based, from Tbilisi, Georgia. And I'm your friend. That's why I'm here. I'm your best friend.
I love that you're here.
I'm your favorite friend, sorry.
You're my favorite friend. And really, there's no one that I know that I can hold a conversation about those deep subjects
Oh, I'm again so honored.
than you. And today, actually, talking about deep subjects, we're going to talk about attachment style,
Let's go.
relationships, self, a bit of childhood.
Basically, like our conversation.
Everyday conversation.
Our daily conversations.
Do you remember when was the first time you've ever heard the concept of attachment style?
Actually, not long ago.
Really?
Yeah, it was maybe a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had known before. I mean, of course, I've heard, but I was never interested, so I never actually explored more. And I started exploring very late, I think.
What was the...
When I met an avoidant.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like before this, you were like...
Before I just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what it was, but I never explored it. I was never interested in who was I, what kind of attachment style I had. But now I'm like, okay, now I just wanna find a perfect attachment style for me, which I don't know,
like a perfect match.
Yeah, the perfect match. But I've learned so much. Now I'm even more confused because the more you know, the worse it gets.
But I think it got also trendy, kind of like to kind of get to know. Maybe we should also explain what type of attachment style exists. Do a little explanation for a listener.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
So there is 4 types of attachment style. We have the secure, the avoidant, the anxious, and the disorganized. And each of them has very different characteristic. Should I explain them actually?
Yeah.
Attachment style. Explain in a few words. All right. So, for our listener today, I'm going to break down a bit the 4 attachment style. We have the secure one, which is comfortable with intimacy, good at communication, and trusts easily.
Beautiful.
Then you have the anxious, that crave closeness, overthink text, and have fears of abandonment. Then you have the avoidant, that values independence, struggles with emotional closeness, and might ghost when overwhelmed. And then you have the disorganized, which is wants love but fears it. Emotional roller coaster and unpredictable reactions.
Which one are you?
I think so. I had different phases, and for a long time I thought I was an anxious, but I think I'm a disorganized. I can be anxious and avoidant at the same time, and I never know which one is coming next. I will react to what I have in front of me for sure, but I also have tendencies to catch myself. If I'm being anxious, for example, like if I'm being too fearful, I can also just back off. Because so I can tell, I think I'm a disorganized. What do you think is yours?
I think it shifts. I think since I started exploring it, I mean, for my information right now, I'm secure with a secure person, but anxiously attached when it comes to avoidant. So if I meet avoidant person, then I become anxiously attached.
Yeah.
But if I meet a secure person, I'm also secure.
Like you have no anxiety if you meet a secure person.
No.
And you trust is you feel like you're trusting the person 100%.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Not 100%. I mean, I never trust anyone 100%, but I don't become anxiously attached.
Yes.
Because I understand that I have my own insecurities and I have my own fears. And I understand that 6 years of therapy did something. So I kind of, when I feel something, this is familiar to me and I have an explanation why do I feel something a lot of times. So it doesn't make me anxiously attached necessarily. But if they're avoidant, then I have a terrible fear of rejection or abandonment or whatever. Yeah. So it's very difficult. And in the beginning, well, I think when I was younger, I had some relationship when my partner was anxiously attached or controlling, etc.
Yeah.
I was still not becoming avoidant.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I have avoidant tendencies. If I care about somebody, I'm never becoming avoidant. So I always face the situation. I'm always very close emotionally and everything. So I wouldn't say I have avoidant tendencies, but I do have tendencies of being anxiously attached.
Yes.
But normally I can be secure, which I think is achieved by my therapy, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think I was like this before, but it was a long process and I arrived there. A lot of things that can trigger me, but still, I think I have it together. Unless, yeah, unless somebody triggers me like really, really, really.
Talking about this, have you ever were in a relationship with someone or starting something with someone and you were not sure 100% if you liked them, but because they were avoidant, all of a sudden you kind of...
Yes, because I wanted to get them so much because they didn't show interest, of course.
This is crazy when you think about it.
Yes, but I don't have that anymore because I don't feel like I have to work for someone. So I'm always like, but then at some point I'm realizing, because I look so uninterested and unapproachable sometimes, because I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna fight for you, you know. Then I feel like maybe that's also not good. And I don't know where is the balance. Where is the line where I should be like, how much should I put and how much should other people put? But I think I should just stop thinking about it and whatever comes. And if I don't feel like it's working for me, or if I feel like this is the person that I have to really hustle to get attention from, I don't want it. No thanks.
Yeah. Talking about attachment style and about how you described it, do you think we can change our attachment style? Or do you think it's like a fixed thing that you're born with it and you're just going to have it for the rest of your life?
No, I think of course we can. Of course we can change. We can work on ourselves a lot. And we can change it in therapy, of course. Because, I don't think we are born with it. I think we are growing up and then we are developing to it. So yeah, for sure.
Because when we talk about the fact that if you meet someone who has a different attachment style than yours might change, even though you did therapy, even though you work on yourself, even though you're aware, those things can still happen.
Yeah. If I meet avoidant and I become anxiously attached, this can happen.
Yeah,
definitely. Because I kind of crave balance. When I'm standing in front of avoidant person, if he pulls away, then I push forward, and then the opposite. So the more they're pulling away, then the more I want to get this reassurance that I need, which is horrible to think about. Like, I don't know, it's really bad to think about that. Oh, I need a reassurance to just live my normal life. I really don't like to say this, but like sometimes I really do need reassurance. But not in not in not in all relationships, probably.
I think if someone is not willing to take a step forward anyways, and you're trying to kind of like complete that void or like trying to make it balanced, you feel like you're actively doing something for this to work.
Yeah.
But then when you read that like avoidant will get overwhelmed and that they don't do these avoidant things to get, are they expecting that you're moving forwards towards them to make it work? Or are they just getting so overwhelmed that they're pulling back and there's nothing, no happening in the middle kind of?
Yeah. Yeah. And at the same time, we are like, oh my God, I think he needs this from me now. And then I'm going to do this. And then all they need is the space. And then you're not giving them the space because you feel like you need some kind of answer from them, some kind of response, reaction. And they're not giving it because all they need is the space. And then you are trying a bit more. So it's like, it's a big mess.
I agree.
In the end.
I agree. Do you think your attachment style come from your childhood?
Yeah, I think everybody's attachment style comes from their childhood to some degree, because that's when we are developing. That's when things happen that affect all the rest of our life.
Yeah. Do you think it's the way your parents were with you, or do you think it's your parents' attachment style that kind of shaped you?
My parents were busy, so and this shaped my attachment style as well, because I always needed them to be with me, but they were not because they didn't want, but because they couldn't, because they had to work. Both of my parents were working a lot, so yeah, I just needed them, And probably this is the same dynamic that I have with an avoidant person, because I feel like I need more of them, but I can't have it because they need more space. They need to leave. They need to do some other stuff. But all I want is to have them around. So this is kind of the same dynamic, I think, that I had with my parents when I was a child. Just because I don't know, it was maybe like not even 6 months since I was born, but both of them were gone at work and like super busy life. And then I was staying at home with my very lovely grandma. But still, I probably, not that I have memory of it or something, but this is something that we discovered in my therapy. Probably that's what I needed. I needed more of my own parents.
Yeah.
I loved my grandma and I still love her very much. But probably I needed my mom.
So this could be a reason for sure of, like, you can tell that whatever happened in your childhood anyways affects like your relationship now, the way you are, the way you act, the way you do stuff around, and how your brain kind of function, and like your brain chemistry in some ways. Do you know your parents' attachment style, like how they are in their own relationships? Because your parents are still together.
Yes, my parents are still together. I don't really know, honestly, and I'm not in a position to.
Yeah, you never asked them
say. Yeah, I mean, I could guess, but I don't think that would be correct. No, I don't think I should do that.
Yeah,
because I don't really know. I don't really know what is happening in their brain. I know what I see, but we never talked about it very deeply, so I cannot say that, oh, my mom is anxious. That would not be correct from my side to do.
Because for example, for my own attachment, especially when in my life I faced avoidant people, I feel like maybe there is risk, like there's an answer in my mom and in my grandma, and like I do feel like the way my brain works might be generational. And I always felt like maybe I need to look back, and if I look back, maybe that will have answers. And I always assumed, so I always do this thing where like I think for other people and I think before they say anything because I assume I can read people so much, which is not true. And I was always thinking that maybe my mom was an anxious person, but the more I know her, the more I feel like she's a super big avoidant person.
Really?
I think my mom is avoidant.
Interesting.
And probably my dad was an anxious person.
Really?
Yes.
Crazy.
And I mean, I'm not going to go into detail, but I can see the dynamic now because I'm reproducing more what my mom is doing. But I have trait from my dad. This is why I feel like this is not necessarily the way I grew up that shaped my attachment style, but how my parents were that I copied. And for a long time, I thought that the way my parents were doing things were the way things should be done, until I broke the cycle and said, well, maybe that's not the best. Like, maybe they don't know everything and maybe they didn't figure out everything and maybe I should think for myself a bit.
Yeah,
but this came like beginning of my 20s, like late, even though I was craving freedom and I rejected some of their ideas and rejected some of who they were and everything. Somehow, I deeply thought that they were doing stuff that adults do because they know better until you grow up yourself.
Yeah, but that's all. I mean, that's how we grow up, and we learn from them. And also, like during our teenage years, we always go against them and stuff. But whatever we see is still something that we learn. For example, what I learned from my parents was that we have to work it through. Whatever happens, we are working on it. It's never an option to
in the relationship.
Yeah. And then that's exactly how I think now. Even like when I was with an avoidant person, I was like, yeah, but let's working on it. We can do this, da da da. And you know what? I mean, no, you don't have to work on everything. It's okay if you split.
I agree.
You don't even have anyone to think about. Like, you don't have children. Nobody's gonna be affected. You can just split up. Everything's gonna be fine. But I'm like, no, but we're gonna work on it. Now we can change this, we can change that, we can go to therapy, we can go to this and that, and chill, bro. It's like, it's fine. So that's what I've learned very, very late. Like now, only now, that it's like sometimes it's like really okay to break up. And then you're gonna find another person, and then you're gonna find another person, until you find the one that you wanna spend the rest of your life with, or you never find that one and then you always change. That's also fine. Or you want to be alone. I love being alone. I mean, that's the best thing ever, really. Like, I love being alone. Sometimes I feel like when I was in a relationship, I was sometimes thinking, was I better alone? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, you know what? I kind of missed this.
Yeah.
I missed being alone. So
sometimes I think when you get, I think we often want to chase the opposite of what we have. But being in a relationship make you rethink of why you were craving a relationship to begin with. It makes you kind of question what was I looking for when I entered this relationship? And down the line, am I checking it with myself enough to be like, okay, is this working the way I want this to work? Am I compromising myself too much? Is there so much compromises I'm making with myself? Am I not aligned with what I promised myself? All those stuff that kind of like arrive along, like in the relationship along the way. This is like really one of the reasons why you would kind of want to go extreme and be alone.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I compromise a lot because sometimes I assume people want me to do this. And then they feel better, and I want to make them feel better because I love them so much. And I just do it. Or sometimes I feel like, okay, they're not having the best day, so I'm not gonna care about my own space now, and then I'm gonna give them the affection or whatever, the attention they need. Or sometimes I'm like, they're having a bad period in life. They're having a bad month. And I'm gonna just prioritize them and their well-being. But actually, this is long-term, like really, really bad.
And then you end up resenting them?
Yeah.
This is the worst. I wonder why in those situations, you would think that this is a simple and easy fix that's going to end up costing you more. You know, you feel like a waste of maybe time or energy, or like that it wasn't worth it. And then you end up suffering more than allowing them to just be, suffer with them, suffer. I think one thing that is important and crucial, I think, in relationship is like building that space to be present without getting emotionally involved with their emotion. That makes sense. But I don't know if
but it's so difficult for me.
I agree.
Because I feel the other person like very much.
Mm.
I mean, whatever they're feeling and whatever they're going through, I'm just there as well, you know? And I should learn this, honestly, because it's going to be better for everybody if I still prioritize myself, even if other people don't feel very well. You know, like, this is what I need right now, and I have to have this. And you just, I don't know, keep suffering. But
it's also the question of like, how do we keep this balance between caring and living as an individualist, and like being very like me first. I'm going to prioritize myself always. I think this is very, I don't know. I assume, I feel like in our generation actually is something that is very new and that we praise a lot, that we should put ourselves first and care about other people second, which is true. Like, it's like when you're on the plane, you have to put your mask first and then you put it on your baby, you know? It's always like, if you can fill your own cup, then you would be able to help other. If you fill your own cup, you can be, you know, this is like the thing. But what I'm then scared of is like, when do I care? When do I jump in, you know?
yeah.
Is there anything that you said you would never do like your parents, that now you're like kind of doing in your relationships?
Not that I've had a lot of relationships, but I don't know, honestly. I didn't want to have discussion. I never want to have discussions. I just don't want them.
What do you mean? How do you mean?
If I start having a lot of discussions with my partner, I just want to split up, because I'm like, okay, this is not working.
You mean arguments, or you mean conversation?
Arguments. Yeah. I don't want to have arguments.
Why?
I don't know. It's so useless. I mean, we can always talk about things, you know, and agree on things, or agree to disagree is also an option, and a very nice. I love that option. I love it.
We disagree, but we don't make it a subject anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So with different opinions, it's okay, unless they like Trump.
I agree, though. Like, I think it's like, I mean, it's like in a lot of like situation in life, it's like, would you stay friends, or would you? This is a big topic as well. Like, would you still be friend with your friend if they had other opinions, and like if arguments were like always the center of, like, you wouldn't stay friend, for example, with someone that you always have argument with every time you meet them. So same in relationships.
Of course.
In any relationships, even with a family member, you just like, fuck off. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you. Like, it's pissing me off. Because you get in your head in like it's almost like you're defending ideas that you kind of like believe in your everyday. You can have strong opinions and like light opinion, but all of a sudden you have to fight for them so much, so much energy and like work and time, and you really feel like someone is working against you.
Yeah.
You want someone in your team.
Exactly. Yeah, this team feeling is a lot.
Yes.
It's everything in life. Like the sport that you get with whatever you do, and somebody's like, yeah, you go, girl.
Yeah. Having a cheerleader as a partner, I think it's the most essential, important. I think For me, it's really the idea that being with someone who feel like an anchor, like you have someone that is like strongly positioned in your life and you can rely on, go do your life, go individually live your life, but you know that you can rely on each other and that they're on your team and they have your back.
Yeah. That's exactly what I want.
Just need some work on both sides.
So the work is inevitable?
For sure. I don't think there is anything in life that you can have without some kind of work. Work doesn't mean pain.
Okay. Yeah.
For example, if you want to create a beautiful relationship with a friend, you might have to go towards them and talk to them, which is some kind of work. Like reaching out to them, making plans, being present for them when they're low, laughing with them when they're high, some kind of work. Doesn't mean it's painful.
If you want, does that count as work? Is that not something that just
is natural?
Counts.
Maybe it's harder for other people than it is for us, or it's harder for some people to reach. I know a lot of people who have a hard time reaching out, sending a text back. It takes a lot of energy from them to respond to a text, for example.
It takes a lot of energy from me.
You see? And somehow you're putting in the work.
Yes, girl, I am.
And this is what I mean by that is like, okay, I'm done talking about the work. Now, I'm like, next question. So you've dated someone who had a very different attachment style from yours.
Yes.
Do you want to describe a little bit how it feels like? Walk us through the experience.
Yeah. I mean, it was not the opposite attachment style because in the beginning we were both looking like we were both secure.
Question.
Yes.
Do you think you were secure because you were not there yet? We're going to call it the honeymoon phase. Like, it's all beautiful. Everyone knows what, like, I think at the beginning, you both clear on the fact that you're like each other. Do you feel like at this point of the relationship, you can actually figure out your attachment style because you're starting by saying we're secure?
Yeah, but in the beginning, it was like a honeymoon phase or whatever we call it. True. But it felt very secure because I was actually thinking about it. I was like, okay, how is this going? Am I too excited for the relationship or am I like just calm and chill? And I was really like super chill. I was like, everything's going well. Even if I feel like super excited about something, I'm like, okay, just calm down. Just keep it slow. And I really wanted to keep it slow. And I really, really, really took everything slow. And it worked really well until one point when I didn't feel supported. Because once I showed very big vulnerability of mine and I didn't feel supported.
This was the breaking point.
I feel like that's when everything started breaking because I lost trust. And then that's when the downhill started for me. Because when I didn't feel supported, I lost trust in this person. I lost trust that I would get support. I didn't lose trust because I thought he would do something, but I just lost this safety in a relationship.
You didn't feel like he was your anchor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel safe anymore. And then I kept it in me, and then I went back to therapy because I was like, something's wrong with me. But actually, the only thing was like I only needed a bit more support, and I got a bit less. And then everything escalated from there. And
did you talk about it?
Yeah, many, many times. But he was just, we just had a different language, I feel like. So, yeah, we were just not understanding because I was just sharing something and he was understanding it differently. And then at some point, I got tired because I was like, okay, it doesn't make any sense anymore because you're not understanding anyway. So maybe I can write to you. And I was writing emails. I was like, maybe you can just read them and then reread them and then reread them. And maybe then you understand, because I don't want to talk about it, because I feel like when I talk, you just don't understand. And then he was hating that I was writing the emails. It was like, okay, let's talk. It was really, really funny. So it was, yeah, it was just not working anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think attachment style shows in friendships too?
Definitely.
Like, why do people disappear sometimes for 6 months from your life and then they reappear? Or like, why sometimes people are just very clingy all of a sudden?
I don't know. I mean, I think with my friends, I personally am very secure,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also always there for my friends, like really. But I feel like there are friendships that are a bit I don't know, anxious. But I don't know much about it, honestly, because I feel very content in my friendships.
Yeah. I agree with this. I think most of my friendships I feel secure. And sometimes I have this tendency of feeling so secure that I'm scared to not water it enough, to not nurture it enough.
But do you think that being secure doesn't mean that you're nurturing it? So when you're nurturing it, you are being extra something?
No, but somehow, I feel like being secure is being able. I mean, for example, I never okay, the way I know I'm secure in my friendships is because I would just reach out to my friends, ask them if they want to do something. If they say no, I go to another friend, and I don't even think about it twice.
Yeah.
And then when they reach out to me, I don't care about saying no or yes or disappointing them, because I'm like, we have each other. We're good.
Yeah.
I never second guess it.
Mm-hmm.
Never. But then, of course, I have some friendships, mostly when you're closer and you have a bit more history, that made me feel like I want to be avoidant with them, or I want to be like I feel a bit anxious, for example. Those exist as well. But those are like very, very specific dynamic in friendships. But most of the time it's true. Like in friendships are so much easier. I think I think friendship to me is the way I want to have a relationship. It's like knowing that you have each other, putting some work, reaching out to each other, and really expressing yourself the way you want to be understood, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And hoping that they get it. And when they don't, you're just like, okay, I'm going to reach out to other people, because one person cannot be everything. Same for with relationship. One person cannot bring you everything.
Yeah.
And shouldn't.
But I feel like we grow up with an idea of a friendship that a friend has to be somebody who is there for you for whatever you are. Mm-hmm. Like you can be you with your friend, and you have to be you with your friend.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're growing up with an idea that you have to be someone for your partner. Because nobody ever told me that, you just have to be you in your relationship. No, but everybody told me your friends love you because of you. But nobody told me your partner will love you because of who you are.
But this comes later.
It's like, you have to be like this, you have to be like that, you have to take care of them like this and like that. And especially from the culture that I'm coming from, it was always like my mom and my grandma, they were always like, I have to be like this, you have to be like that. And then all the norms and all the culture around it, which I hated always, but it's still in my head,
This is so true. Like the thing that your parents and your grandparents kind of communicate with you about like your future relationships. Like my grandma would just reinforce this idea that people will steal my partner from me if I wasn't. Really? Yeah. And this is a big belief that she has. No wonder why you get paranoid sometimes about like, and what.
My grandma had an idea that if I don't cook and clean, my husband will leave me. Of course, I never do that. I mean, not of course, but I never do that.
Yeah. But no, but I think this is so true. Like the belief that there is some kind of like person you should be if you want to enter a relationship, being accepted and loved, end up being the reason why it doesn't work. Because you made so much, you bend yourself so much, you try to be in this weird shape to try to fit someone else, that it will end up breaking within you, within the relationship. The other person, how is it sustainable to be in a relationship with someone when you're not even yourself? Like, it's just, and asking them to be themselves on top of this.
It cannot be sustainable, honestly.
If you think about it, would you be with someone who wouldn't be themselves, you know?
Oh my God, that would be so bad.
And then being like, but are you lying to yourself? Are you lying to me? Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people just don't know who they are. A lot of people don't know what they want. I know some people like that. It's not good.
Yeah. The worst is like, you know, when people stayed for a long time together, thought they knew each other, ended up breaking up, and then you see a complete other character from them. Because this whole time they thought they had to be this person.
Yeah.
And the problem is like you kind of get yourself in a position where like you put yourself in a cage yourself, because you now think that you have to live up to the expectation you kind of set for yourself, because the other person is kind of expecting you to be yourself, quote unquote, when in reality you're never this person.
Yeah.
And if you end up breaking some part of this, the person is going to be like, who are you? You're changing. You're so different. And I'm resenting you for not being the person you were at the beginning. What do you think it's like the best way to approach friendship when they actually have a different attachment style than yours?
Honestly, I have never thought about that. I have never had a problem with that either. I'm so lucky in my life with friendships. It's crazy. But I have a lot of friends, like a lot. But I have 1, 2, or 3 best friends. Like, because I don't have time and space to have like 5 or 10 best friends that I talk with every day.
Yeah.
This is like not possible for me. So I only have like very close people. I have a best friend. She's almost like a sister for me. And she lives in Georgia, but we don't talk every day. But there are some friends here who kind of are becoming, she's going to see this and she's going to kill me. But they're kind of on the same level here because we live in the same city and then we are having the same schedules and stuff like this. But I cannot do this for like 10 people.
Yeah, of course. I think having a strong circle and for you to feel sane and not overloaded with a lot of people and information, it's also important to keep your circle small but crazy.
Small but crazy. That is the most important. They have to be crazy, otherwise it's not fun.
They have to have some kind of mental health.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't answer to your question because I have no idea. I have no answer to your question because my friendships somehow always work. I don't know. I'm always being friends with people I vibe with. Yeah. Maybe because I don't have anxious attachments to the people, to my friends, basically.
So you don't even over question it.
Yeah, exactly. If something is just not working, I just go my way.
You're pointing something that is very interesting, I think. Now you're saying I'm only friend with people I vibe with.
Yep. If I don't vibe with you, I mean, I don't dislike you, but you're also not gonna be my friend. I mean, that's totally fine. I would never ever like go extra mile to like try to win you as a friend. Like, no, ciao.
Exactly. But I think sometimes the opposite happens, where you try to get. So the opposite happens when you meet someone, you know you're not going to vibe with them necessarily, but you push through.
Yeah, but why?
Because you think it's going to come later. Because you like something at first, like...
Yeah, but I don't.
Exactly. This is why it works for you. Like, this is why your friendship is successful, I think. It's because you really know that you chose them exactly as face value for what they were, and you're not trying to made up that thing.
Crazy. Maybe I should think about relationships as I think about friendships.
Exactly.
Oh my God, you cracked the code.
No, but in a way, like, if in a relationship, you would be like, I don't vibe 100% with this person. It's not going to come later. I don't want to push through. I don't want to pursue that person. I don't want them to pursue me because I just know it's never going to happen.
You opened my eyes.
You see?
Honestly.
And in friendship, the reason why your friendships are successful and long-term and like you can have a decent relationship with them and a great relationship with them is because from the beginning, you didn't lie to yourself about who they were.
Yeah. Bam.
And
honestly,
that's such a good like things to realize, because I mean it happens so many times that you get stuck in a with people that you don't really vibe with, and then you're like, wow, how do I get out of this? But you initiated it. Also, I think sometimes it comes down to the capacity you have at this moment. Sometimes you feel like you're opening up the door for new people, but you're really in real life, you don't have the capacity. Maybe you have an overwhelming relationship. Maybe you have an overwhelming work. Maybe you have a lot of friends already that you have to kind of deal with, or like that going through something. You don't have the capacity for someone else. Someone else tries to enter your life. Not working. No, it's kind of blocking. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So it can be also periodic. It doesn't mean necessarily, you know, if you just come out of a breakup, for example, but you meet a great person, that might not be that you don't vibe with them. It's just maybe the period you're in that just doesn't allow you to see them for who they are. Could be also periodic. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know.
Yeah. So it's kind of right person, wrong time or something?
Yeah, but I think in general, timing in life is a big thing for not only just in relationship. For sure, timing plays a big role. Like, I know that, I mean, for sure, our parents, for example, when they met, there is 10,000 other people who would have been a greater partner for them.
Yeah.
But they just, time-wise, it was the great moment. They just both wanted kids. Bam, beam, boom, were born. You know?
Actually, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, how much the culture means and how free we are. We have to appreciate this, honestly.
Yes.
Because thinking about my parents' generation, they were like so not free to choose their parents.
This too.
Choose their partners. I mean, they didn't have, they were not like, oh my God, I'm going to try again and again and again and a different person and a different person. And we have so much information and so much freedom to do whatever we want. And that's why I'm single right now.
But do you sometimes wonder if we have too much choices?
Yeah.
So that's why we feel like it's okay if I leave this one because there is...
Yeah. Especially in Berlin, we have just too many options.
But how many can stick with?
And commitment issues, of course, but really too many options, and it's getting overwhelming. Spark is shit.
Yeah.
Spark is bullshit. If somebody is looking for a spark,
they're looking for
like, ciao.
Yeah.
Because I'm in for the slow. I love the slow development of a relationship because this is something that is more sustainable and that is something that you are building. I mean, fuck spark. It goes.
I agree with the spark. I don't think you should chase the spark. I think if you want to go for the slow burn, you still need a vibe.
Of course.
You need a hook.
You're not gonna.
You need a hook.
Of course. But it doesn't have to be like something like crazy when you feel, you know, everybody felt that. And when you feel like somebody is like triggering everything in you, no, this is not that.
I agree.
Because the spark is not going to be there always.
You should start writing their name on a piece of paper and putting it under their pillow. He's not the one.
Exactly. He's definitely not the one. He's not the one. And also, don't do this.
But if we talk about like a bit of tips, I think now that you're single and available for any man or like,
now that I'm happy,
I feel like sometimes we have a clearer head when we are out in a relationship. Do you think there is anything that helped you feel more secure in a relationship?
When I was in a relationship?
Yes.
In the beginning, many things, but no, I think I was feeling more and more insecure, like day by day. And right now I'm feeling like, oh my God, how did I not realize how bad it became for me? I'm not saying that the relationship was bad and like he was bad or something. I still love this person, amazing, everything. I'm thankful for the relationship. But like I was not happy, and I was not seeing that I was so unhappy, because when you're unhappy, you don't really see that you are so unhappy, and you don't really see the option of happiness, and you don't remember how happy you were yesterday, which is the worst thing about it. Because when you are like down, you don't know how down you are.
It's very true that when you're in a headspace, it's hard to remember how you felt in another headspace.
Yeah.
When you're sad, to feel happiness, and when you're happy, how you thought you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I feel like as someone who, for example, you were saying you want to work on things, you want to make things work.
Right.
It's hard to believe that there is another way than fixing it. So going through the fear, going through the pain, going through the sadness feels like a step towards the one day it's going to be very different. We're going to be in another place. I have to push through. I think this is something that is very frequent.
Yeah, but I feel like there is one thing my therapist told me when we broke up. She was like, if you want to be with this person, you can break up, get back together, and start a new relationship with the same person. And I'm
yes.
Like, what do you mean? And then I thought about it, and I realized this is an amazing thing. If you care about this person, if you really want to be with this person, you can start a new relationship. But for that, you have to break up.
Yes.
You have to get your space. You have to find yourself again. And you have to understand, what do you actually want? And if this person can give you this, and then if yes, you're going to start a new relationship with this person. Otherwise, that's it.
Often
Find a new person.
That's also an advice that it's given to couples that face betrayal. Of course, that there is patience, work, but mostly that you have to start a new kind of relationship because the one before is broken.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Or ended up being broken because the trust was broken. Yeah. Something was broken. So renewing the relationship, starting from a new place, reinventing yourself somehow is often given as like a solution to move forward.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, I was always the person who were like, oh my God, I never go back with my exes, da da da. And now I'm like, honestly, if I ever have a long-term relationship, I want this kind of, it's very weird to say, but if I ever break up and get back with someone, there is going to be such a big bond, like even bigger than it was before.
Actually, questioning techniques on how to kind of heal your attachment style or kind of grow with it or managing it, do you think there is a technique for you that works best, like therapy, journaling, talking with people? Like what has helped you in the past, kind of figuring out, first of all, your attachment style and maybe overcoming it?
Yeah. First of all, you have to find the source of it, and therapy helps a lot. And I like usually combining two directions, which is one, therapy, like all the inner work to find the source and then make peace with it. And the second one is cognitive behavioral therapy, So this is going to teach you the ways to cope. So the combo of these two is something that works for me, because it's not that easy to find a source, and it's not that easy to heal your inner wounds in a second. It might take years and years and years, and you never remember, and you don't always make parallels, and then it's really not easy. So at the same time, you're learning about how to cope, and because, I mean, what if you never find it? You never find the source, then at least you learn how to cope.
How does this therapy, like the cognitive behavior therapy, works?
It's just teaching you about like what to think, the way you think, the way you reframe the situation that you are in, and what do you tell yourself, or what do you do, or what you do when you're very anxious. And yeah, it's actually really good.
So do you do that?
Yeah.
So good. I think sometimes we're missing angles. When like you face a situation and you react to it, and then you end up looking at it from another angle, or you end up getting a piece of information that you were missing. Then you're like, oh, yeah, if I knew this from the beginning, but maybe the idea is like to not assume.
Yeah, exactly.
When you don't know.
But we're always learning. Sometimes right now I feel like, oh my God, now I know so much. But then at some point I'm going to meet somebody who's going to make me learn even more.
This is the best. Meeting people that kind of mirror in any relationships, either it's friendship or like a romantic relationship, I think you're going to mirror yourself. Like you're going to see yourself in them, of course, and you're going to learn something about you. And every single time it's going to fucking hate you in the face, and you're going to have to work on yourself. This is where any relationship is work, really. Friendships or romantic relationship, because the work is really with yourself. Like you're seeing yourself in so many different ways, depending on who you have in front of you and how they make you, react. And like the main key, I believe, in like healing and growing is kind of learning how to deal with your reactions. The emotions, the thoughts, everything is going to stay, if not similar, your whole life. Kind of like going to be the, how do I phrase it? Your emotion and your thoughts, I think, stay pretty consistent your whole life. You can talk yourself out of things. You can learn stuff about you that's going to quiet them down a bit sometimes, period. But I do feel like it's the way you react to things that end up being the big shift. And the more you practice this, the more the thoughts and the emotion kind of. But what do I know? Do you think we're naturally are attracted to like our opposite attachment style?
Yeah, definitely.
You think the universe is trying to make us suffer and for us to just live in this? Like, do you think we're craving this dynamic?
Yeah, but it's normal, no? Because if you're a person who needs reassurance all the time, you get attached to the person who you want to give. Oh. All these other podcasts say that this is true, so I say this is true.
No, I think for sure there's something inside of us that like is craving for the missing piece.
Yeah, of course.
If you're craving attention and you have attention, what's the fun?
Yeah, what's the fun? And like, how can avoidant person get together with an avoidant person? They will never meet. I guess. I don't know.
But I wonder actually if two avoidant person meet, they will actually change their attachment side at that moment. One of them.
Yeah.
Or like you would go
is like more avoidant than the other one, because I don't know.
Definitely. Or they get super secure with each other. They're like, yeah, just avoiding me.
Like, yeah, just avoiding each other.
No, but for sure, avoidant people don't seek avoidant people. They do seek that person that's gonna. Yeah. Okay, final question.
Yeah.
What is one thing you would say to your past self about love and attachment?
learn about attachment styles.
Do you think it would solve anything to learn about it sooner?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I would find out about my ex's avoidant attachment a bit sooner. Yeah, I think.
Sometimes I wonder if, like, knowing about the topic so much, like, for example, if you learn about your attachment style early on, is it that you intellectualize it? So, like, you're going to talk about
Oh my God, yes.
everything, but being super detached from your emotion, actually, just like really being in the wording and the phrasing and the. Or is it actually helpful and then there is a proper action plan you can put into places so you don't end up losing yourself, losing your mind over like a situation you actually don't understand.
I think it's very helpful because then you have the knowledge to identify the threat. And sometimes we think that we know so much, and then we really philosophize about it, and we are like, oh my God, this is that. And it's actually not. And it's in our head, and then we fuck it up. But I think it's good to know anyways, because then we don't fall for things very blindly.
True.
Yeah, we don't want the blind love. That's not in fashion anymore.
Sometimes I have this tendency of not going for the informations as if they would kill the natural flow of how I would have done things without knowing. But I always go back to informations in the end to educate myself on the subject, or because it ends up being the solution.
Yeah.
So being proactive and doing it before it happens might actually be.
Yeah, but you don't know what is about to happen, so
You
can't live. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Thank you for listening to me. Actually, we can wrap it up. I think we can close this podcast by saying that I think you're not defined by your attachment style, and there is work and progress you can do. Never stuck in life really with what you've been given, even. Or you can accept who you are and then start the work. We're going to close today's episode. We had a nice chat. Thank you for coming to This Could Have Been a podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And I would love to hear about you who are listening to us today. If you have any questions that you would like for us to answer, if you have any tips, any comments on attachment style, we'll be more than happy to receive any of your comments, email, DMs. We're open to any type of communication style. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It was the first episode of This Could Have Been a Podcast, and this is new for us. We're beginning this journey and we don't know where it's going, but we're really happy to share thoughts and discussion with you guys. So until next time, take care, and thank you so much for listening. See you.